So my name is Ashish Upadhyaya. I am the director of the Health Profession Advising Center. I run the pre-med program here at the University of New Haven, and I'm also a faculty member in the School of Health Sciences for the BS in Health Sciences program, as well as the occasional MHA class that I teach. I'm also a student. I'm about 1 year away from finishing up my doctorate in bioethics. It's a hybrid program at Loyola Chicago. So my life is academics, whether I'm grading papers or I'm writing papers. That's what I do. So, I know kind of both sides of it and living both sides of it right now. In the very beginning of undergrad, I was not the best student. High school was pretty easy for me. I kind of skirted by. And then when I got to college, yeah, I did realize that did not fly, and I was not successful my freshman year. So what I did was I had my epiphany. I realized that like I need to get my crap together. And it turned out I didn't know how to study. Like, there's a way to actually study properly. I realized I did not know how because I always just sort of skirted by. I was not good at managing my time. I was not the most organized, and I didn't realize that there's actual methods and ways to do that. And once I learned those and started incorporating those, um, my grades went up. I found much more success. I actually enjoyed learning. It's something that's why I'm here today. Working here, being a faculty member. So I just have a passion for learning, and it's something that if you talk to 18-year-old me, would never believe that almost 35-year-old me would be where I am today. And a lot of that also has to do with my professors all the way through my undergraduate years to my master's program to the doctorate program I'm in now. It's so important to get to try to know some of your professors. And you'll know which professors that you kind of jive with. It's like an organic relationship, but don't be afraid of us because we're people and we're here to try to help you, give you advice, and guide you, not just into your professional careers, but also into adulthood. You come as an undergrad, you're coming to college, you're moving away from home for the first time, and by the time you leave, you're going out into the real world. So it's more than just your professional career. It's sort of that integral part of your life where you transition from essentially being a kid to a full-fledged adult, and it's not easy. And we're here to guide you because we've been there. So the best strategy I ever learned, funny enough, I learned this from my first like real professional mentor, like my first real adult job. My boss at the time at the Yale School of Medicine, Mary, asked me, "Why is your calendar empty?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Your Outlook calendar." She's like, "Start putting everything on your Outlook calendar. I'm telling you that as your boss. Everything you do, start putting it on there." And about a month later, I realized that I never missed any deadlines. I never forgot anything. And it occurred to me, like, I should really just start putting everything on my Outlook calendar. And I tell students to do that now. I still do that to this day. I did it through my master's. Whenever my doctorate program, whenever my semester starts, first thing I do is I look at the syllabi, and then all the due dates of important assignments, it's in my Outlook calendar. It's due this date, and I give myself a notification for a week before, and it's synced to my phone because I'm probably on my phone just as much as you guys are. But everything from before the pandemic, I'm going out with friends this night. We're supposed to meet up at this time. It's in my Outlook calendar. And what ends up happening is you look at not how busy you are, but you'll start noticing the blank space. And that blank space is really important because that's your free time and that's your time to decompress and just do things you like, whether it's like I'm going to go to the gym now, I'm just going to read a book, I'm going to play some video games, just going to hang out. So do that for your homework. What's homework due? If you think you should study more, study, put like 20-minute chunks every day and take that 20 minutes and learn 2 or 3 things, like really learn it. Instead of trying to crunch a bunch of things in 4 or 5 hours, take 20 minutes a day. You got to start early and like really learn those things. And your brain will actually retain it instead of trying to crunch. So it's little things like that. But for me, it was all about putting things in my Outlook calendar and syncing it to my phone. Completely changed my life, and I still do it now. So the advice I would give the students that they're not sure what major they should be in or what they want to do is, and I forget who gave me this advice or where I read it, but it doesn't matter where I learned this. It's that I never forgot it. Ask yourself this, and really think about it. Let's say recently there was a Powerball, the jackpot that went up to $1 billion. Let's say you hit it. You got $1 billion. You're set for life. Your grandkids are set for life. It is generational wealth. You could literally do nothing for the rest of your life and you can live like a royalty. So let's say 10 years after hitting that jackpot, you've bought everything that you could buy, you've seen the world, you bought property, and your baseline happiness, your how content you are is where it's at now because you're used to being a billionaire and used to getting whatever you want. Think about what would you spend your time doing, your free time doing? Like, what would you like to spend your free time doing? And just think of, it's probably more than one thing, but ask yourself, how many of those are something that can translate into some sort of career? And how good how good at you are that, are you at those things, like to the point where like you start from scratch and learn it, or you're already pretty good at it. But that's the trick of finding what you love to do. And somebody asked me that, and I've always been like in my group of friends ever since like high school growing up. I've always been the person where my friends would come to me and pull me aside privately and tell me a situation, they'd ask for my advice. I've always been sort of the advice giver that people just looked up to me for whatever reason. And as I got older, like my friends' parents would say, "Hey, will you talk to so and so? They might go to college, this and that." So that's what I've been advising. Like I realized that's my niche. That's what I love. It's what I do. It's what I'm good at. It's what I love to do. Just at heart, like I like helping people, and I like, I feel like I have success if the people that I help are successful. Something that's really important is finding a mentor. Like finding a mentor, that's something that's an organic relationship that whether it's someone that's like a boss at a job or a professor or either a staff or even some administration at the university, someone that can really give you personal advice and would see you more than a student. Someone that you could probably just text and say, "Hey, I'm in this pickle," or like, "I'm trying to figure this out. What do you think?" Because I do have a few students that I've gotten to know. Very few that have my cell phone number. I'm like, if you ever need something, like text me if you need something that's really important. I see them as my mentees. One of them's graduated, he's in med school now, and chit chat over text. So that's really, really important, and it's that person will be someone who can be your crutch when you might be struggling. Because the worst thing that can happen is when you're struggling is to let that snowball and get worse and worse. I've seen that happen, almost happened to me, and I've seen people take both paths where you can get out of that, but you have to seek help and find the right people that will be willing to listen and help you out. One thing that really changed my life and really made me grow as a person, especially when the pandemic's over, if you get the opportunity, go live abroad, go study abroad. One of those times I was a junior here at the University of New Haven. I was going through a rough patch at the time. I think my girlfriend and I just broke up at the time. It's one of those times where like everything just seemed to be going wrong. And I had this globe, which I actually still have. And I looked at the globe and I looked at Connecticut. I remember thinking, what's the farthest place on Earth from here right now? So that was in March of 2007. July 2007, I was on a plane to Sydney, Australia, and I went for there for a semester, and it just completely changed my life because it was the first time I'd really left the US. It was the first time I was like really on my own. Like I made it a point, like I want to go on my own. I don't even want to go with any friends. Like I want to do this by myself to see if I can do it. It was scary. It had my ups and downs, but it was the best thing I ever did. And it really just completely changed my life. So even if it's not for a semester, if you can go for like a 2 or 3 week trip somehow. It's one of those things when you look back in retrospect, it's life changing. So my last piece of advice is don't forget to enjoy college too, and make sure that you take care of your mental health because it doesn't feel like it, but when you look back one day, right now, these are your college years. Look around at all your friends. When you get older, you're gonna look back and look at them as those are my college friends, those are my college roommates. And it's gonna be like the little things that really stand out that you're gonna remember and miss. I mean, think about some of your most memorable moments from high school or middle school. Like at the time it was happening, it didn't feel like it was a huge impactful thing, but years later, it stands out as something that really impacted you. That same thing's happening right now. And it's important to not forget that, to keep that in mind sometimes. Well, especially if you feel like you're struggling or anything like that. Just remember to tell yourself that.